so far I'm really enjoying this bike, man. A little bit more power, a bit of an inline four. It's actually a very fun bike. Honda, I see you. Alright guys, just picked up the brand new CBR650R. Alright, first impressions is it's more leaned over than I was expecting it to be. Just sorting out all the logistics here at Honda Big Wing Chiang Mai. They've been very gracious to lend me the motorcycle for this review. This is the matte black version of the CBR650R. And I gotta say, it's a very nice looking bike. For 2019, they've done good with the styling, that's for sure. Some of the new Hondas these days, they look nice, man. They're nice looking. And it's definitely positively aggressive in its stance, which feels very nice. So first impressions, feels nice to jump right on it. So of course, like every review I do here on Motorman, is I make sure that I have the bike for at least one whole day to get a full feel for how this bike is. So I'll be giving this bike back in the evening later on today. Feels like a very nice position in terms of everyday use, but still sporty. It's not too aggressive, but you feel like you're gonna drive with purpose. So I've bashed Honda for a little while because I feel like they kind of don't try it sometimes. When they're such a big brand, they could do more. But you can see some of these new Honda models, like the new CB1000 and obviously the naked version of this bike and this bike, they've definitely given extra care into their bikes, that they look like the finish looks better. So I mean, this bike itself right now has traction control. You can get a quick shifter on it as well. Like, that's a lot of stuff for a 650 class bike. And one of the questions I'll be answering in this video, look at this fucking idiot, will be, how does it fare to the Yamaha MT07? Because that's personally my favorite 650 class bike. So has Honda brought a new quality and a new level to the 650 class? That's a question we're going to find out. It's definitely got enough power. Yeah, I mean, I said it forever when I owned an MT07 that you don't need more power, and this obviously has more power than the MT07. Quite a nice different feeling and type of bike, really. Feels nice, brakes feel good. Yeah, give it a ring through a few gears after when this light goes green, just to show you what it can kind of do. It's got 94 horsepower, so it's not lacking in power. Got our indicator on. Got a lot of power. I mean, I was short shifting there because it sounds like it's really screaming and losing power, but I think there's a little bit more I could have done in the first two gears. It's a positively aggressive bike with definitely enough power, and it's very comfortable. So it's doing the typical Honda thing at this point, doing everything very well. Thumbs up for the first three gears kind of ring test. Definitely has a falling in characteristic. Yeah, the chassis and the kind of clip-on setup they've got going on here definitely feels like it wants to lay down into the corners, reminiscent of a Yamaha R6. Smooth, tractable power delivery. As previously mentioned, it does have traction control. It's a switchable traction control system where you have on and off. There is no fine adjustment of it itself. .94 horsepower, 650 inline 4. Obviously not the most torquey type of bike, but you only have to wait a second or two and then the power's coming in there. Don't really feel like you're waiting, doesn't feel like a lag. It's a nice change being in a sporty position. I'm used to obviously naked bikes, and this it is definitely a positively sporty position. Not enough that you would get any pain, but enough to definitely feel like you're enjoying the ride in a sporty style. Definitely an enjoyable bike to ride at a decent pace. Clip-ons definitely help you feel sporty. The engine likes to rev, and being a 650 inline 4 with 94 horsepower, you know, you're gonna have to work it to get the power out of it. So now I'm off the bike. I want to first off by saying the 650 class of motorcycles is probably my favorite class, in all honesty. For how much you pay and how much you get, it narrowly just beats the 300cc class for, I think, overall value. And the king of the 650 class, in my personal opinion, for a long time, ever since it basically came out, was the Yamaha MT07. Now, of course, that's the bike I owned for like a year and a half. Absolutely love my MT07. Have Honda taken the crown from the MT07? Is this the best 650 bike available now? That's probably one of the biggest questions that I want to answer in this review. And to this point, I would say it definitely gives it a nice run. I need to keep riding to confirm if it is better than the MT07, because that's stiff competition. But of course it's very different. It's an inline 4, not a twin, so the power is always it's progressively increasing all the time. It comes with these like Dunlop D214s. And that's a bit of a downside. They don't feel great. Brakes feel decent until you really get on it. If you're really gonna start pushing the bike, you know, that starts to lack a little bit. You know, the forks and the suspension feels good to a certain point, but it's built to a certain point. You know, it's not like a track bike, but it's a bike that you could definitely do a track day on. But anyway, enough talking to this point. So far, definitely a big thumbs up, and it may beat the MT07 in terms of best 650 class bike. We'll have to find out. Make sure you stay tuned, but let's do a bit of a cutie cinemas. So I just put the camera equipment away, jump back on the bike. I'll have another stop over there, and over there in the mountains someplace. But so far I'm really enjoying this bike, man. It's actually a very fun bike. Honda, I see you. Something that I think works with this bike, and is very Honda, and is only a good thing, is that it's very approachable. The power delivery of this bike is not going to scare you. Being a Yamaha MT09 owner, you feel that more, you know. The MT09 is very raw and torquey. It's a different type of bike really in everything it's about. But this is a nice change from me being that owner of the MT09. This is very, very approachable and fun and easy to ride. Very, very, very easy to ride. Like, the MT09 has never been an easy bike to ride, especially if you're trying to drag knee. I mean, like, you try drag knee in A mode. It's like a game you could play. Pass the bike along and try to drag knee in A mode. This is just the opposite. It's just so easy to ride, and it does fall into the corners too. It's a nice change. It's a very nice change. It's very nice. I'm enjoying this a lot. So Honda's made this bike in two different variants. You obviously have the naked version, which is the CB650R, and then this one, the sport one, the CBR650R. And I haven't tried the CB, but it's a nice styling. They've kind of going for that modern retro look, but I must say I'm very much enjoying this bike. The CB, I'm pretty sure, has handlebars, and this CBR has these clip-ons, and I think that is probably why I think this one probably is quite a bit more enjoyable, because the engine itself, even though it's decently powered and it's fast enough, the positioning of this is kind of part of the fun. It just feels more over the front. This bike's a right fucking hoot, man. It's just loads of fun. Fucking loads of fun. Now, this is one thing that really does sum up the motorcycling world well. You spend more money, you don't necessarily get a better bike. You know, if you're doing this loop I'm doing right now on an R1, it could be pretty fun, I'm sure, but it's so unnecessary, and the position would be less comfortable. It would cost a hell of a lot more, and you'd have to have the skills to back it up, because if you're riding an R1 you could easily crash it with too much power. The best bang for your buck is when you spend less money. That's a fact in motorcycling, a flipping fact. Testing, 1 2 3, 1 2 3, testing 1 2 3. So I've done a very decent amount of kilometerage, and it really doesn't feel like it's missing anything. I think that's probably what Honda's great at. It does everything very well. Nothing isn't good about it. Really have enjoyed riding this bike, like a lot more than I thought I would. I tell you, one of the best things I think about this bike is it gives people that don't have a lot of money a bit of a feeling of what it would be like to own like a proper 1000. Like, let's face it, a lot of people can't afford the 1000 version of the CBR, but they can afford this, and there's things that are similar between the two. Of course, they're hugely different animals. One is a complete beast, one basically isn't, but you have the similar power characteristics being an inline 4. You have the aggressive frontwards position. You have to remember there's a lot of people riding bikes, especially here in Thailand, that ride really small 150s and 250s. So this is a very good big bike for those types of people. Let's face it, no one needs 1000cc on the roads. I think this does a fantastic job at appealing to people that want a sporty bike. They want to feel like they own the 1000. It does look very nice, if you ask me. I think it is a very nice looking bike. You know, they've directly taken the styling from the 1000 and applied it to a more affordable bracket of motorcycling. There's really nothing, you can't slag it off for that, you know. I guess a good thing to do at this point, because most of the ride is done, is maybe going over pros and cons. I would say biggest pro, versatility. It can do everything very well. It's a very fun bike. It's a very complete bike. The suspension feels fine. The tires, they're not great. I would definitely change those. If you put some Rosso 2s on it, Pirelli Rosso 2s, that's what I got on my MT09. Really great tires. These get a bit squirmish when you're at lean, definitely, especially if the road's not great quality. It's got traction control. There's a button right here that you literally just toggle on and off. So, have Honda cracked the 650 class? Is this now the best 650? Is it better than an MT07? I'd say it really comes down to rider. They've definitely provided things that no other 650 has. i.e. traction control. You can adjust like the rev limiter, like the shift light. I mean, it is kind of in a class of its own. It's 94 horsepower, so it's definitely got about 20-ish horsepower more than the MT07. So is it better than the MT07? If it was me, I would personally still buy the MT07. The MT07 is very brappy. It's more of a hooligan kind of torquey bike. But if you prefer more a smoother bike, a bike that's maybe a little bit more refined, just a tad more refinement. If you prefer smooth over like an kind of supermoto-y changing gears and having a nice brap of torque, depends which one do you choose. If you like the smooth ride, go for the 650 CBR650R. I'd probably go for the MT07 personally, but I'd be very happy with this. One thing I also do here on Motorman is on my Instagram and also on the community tab here on Motorman, I ask people for any questions they want featuring in the review. We'll get to that in a bit. There are some questions already that people want to know about this bike, so we'll get to that in a second. Kind of towards the end of the loop that I'm doing here on the mountains, guys, and pretty much towards the end of the actual video. But before we do finish, question number 1: is it as boring as it looks? I actually don't think it looks boring. I actually like the looks of it. I think he probably knows that it's not, you know, it's a Honda. It's not potentially the most exciting thingy-majig. Next question: is it just another boring Honda, or does it have character? Character, I'm not so sure. It's an inline 4, so character is a little bit hard to come by, generally speaking anyway. But I wouldn't say it's boring. I've actually enjoyed it a lot. I would genuinely consider this as a choice over the MT07, so I guess that confirms that I don't think it's boring. I've enjoyed it being kind of the opposite of the MT09, not a crazy animal of a bike, but easy to ride and then fun just because of how easy it is. But yes, it is very efficient and very Honda. Why? A big question mark. Why and a big question mark? Why? I guess he's saying, why would I test it? I know this guy owns an MT09, so he's kind of on the same side as me, prefers the brappy torque life rather than a inline 4 Honda. You know, some of you guys here on Motorman might want to be looking at buying this kind of bike, plus, you know, views, of course. Coming from Z300, which one you recommend me upgrade, MT07 or CBR650R? Well, I've kind of mentioned that in this video. I personally would buy an MT07. Considering you're coming from a Z300, you might prefer the more inline package than a brappy package in the twin of the MT07. Test ride both, bro. Personally, I think a 650 twin just works better than a 650 inline 4. This does then again have more power and it has the nicer looks. So I can't really answer that for you as much as I would like to answer that for you, mate. I would go MT07. Test rode this a few weeks back and was really surprised at how good it was. I actually preferred it to the ZX6R, considering it's 2k less. Okay. I get where he's coming from. You know, I was riding this earlier and I thought to myself, it kind of reminded me of the R6 a little bit. Definitely feels like it wants to lay down into the corners, reminiscent of a Yamaha R6. Less focused, obviously less speed, less power, but similar in that it's building power all the time, similar that it's an inline 4. I get where he's coming from with that. It's better for an everyday machine than an R6. It's definitely more comfortable, less aggressive. This is more of a commuter styled sport bike, but still has that power. Like, it's still great chassis and stuff for riding on these roads. I get what you mean, bro. I mean, I could say you're right. I could say you're right. Depends what you're looking for. If you're going to do track days and you want a bike that you'd grow into more, then the R6 or the ZX6R has definitely got a little bit more for you. But I mean, considering the price difference, maybe this is better. You'd have to decide yourself. Good point though there, bro. Okay, the last question: which would you buy with your own money, CBR650R or Ninja 650, factoring in cost of bike, insurance cost and performance? Okay, well, I mean, off the top of my head, I don't actually know the price difference between the Ninja 650 and the CBR650. The Ninja 650 is a twin. I'm 99.9% sure. I haven't rode the 650 Ninja, but actually I'm forgetting, I've rode the Z650 in Bangkok, yeah, before. I'm almost forgetting actually. I prefer this than the 650 Ninja, than the Z650. The Z650's got to have the same engine as the Ninja 650. I would choose this. I would choose this over the Kawasaki. That's 100%. But then again, I would choose the MT07 over this, mate. So I would consider looking at the MT07 if you're buying a bike in the 650 category. So that's all the questions for today's review of the Honda 650 CBR650R. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please, I put a lot of work into these videos, from cinematic stuff to riding the bike for getting the bike for review. It's not easy here in Thailand. Please hit that like button, please subscribe, tell your friends about the channel. Really helps me to make more videos. Leave a comment below, let me know what bike you'd like me to review next, and I do appreciate it if you could like it, comment. The more you help me, the more I can help you, man. That's how it goes. Thanks again, guys, and I will see you in the next episode. Motorman out. Whoa.